Hello, and here we are in our 15th episode, David, of No Art, No Life. And I'm feeling well, and you're looking well.
You're looking great. 15 episodes already. Well, we're moving along.
We are.
Wow. And I hope we can do many, many more, and I hope that we have many more listeners. I also want to say and thank for a wonderful comment about my paintings on the wall. I wish I knew the person's first name and second name, and I want to perhaps expand on some of what he said. Maybe you remember it.
Yes, the comment was very much about the background that we had presented in episode 14, which happened to be turning the camera to look at this wall. And I was mentioning to you, David, over the years of our conversations, though it's a chair somewhat behind me, that chair presents a similar view, meaning looking in this direction, and then usually you are facing me with those paintings behind you. And I mentioned that the comment has now brought into focus the notion that because they are your works and they're in your home, it reflects a degree of, to borrow from the idea of the piano world, a degree of programming, in the sense that we can imagine that surely that these works are grouped together by some either conscious or subconscious effort to present something to the person who's privileged to sit in the chair that looks at that wall. And then further, before we hear your responses to some of that, I also have really relished the times that you have told me that in forecasting what would be on a month's programming at WNCN, you had a large wall where the whole month was planned out. And in a sense, you had a view of that wall that was assembled for the imagined person on the other end of the microphone who's hearing this wall, so to speak, over the course of a month over their radio. So I think there's probably maybe a slight degree of analogy, even though I hope also to have you reflect on the fact that the analogies between the different arts also sometimes are abused. So I hope we can reflect on all those things.
So many things to talk about.
Yes.
We could go into this 20 more sessions. And I hope that this isn't too esoteric for our audience. I don't think so. However, I just get a little worried because I don't know many artists, that even know any other artist. It's becoming so slender a line in the human condition, and I would think that it would add a great deal to someone's life if they started every morning doing a drawing. I don't like the word doodle because a doodle can become a very important drawing, but it's not a doodle to me is a word almost as bad as a hobby. I hate to think that my work is of a hobbyist type, because all creative work comes from the spotless moment or 1 hour or whatever it is that you will really forget the world and you will concentrate. I think important if you would get up in the morning and get yourself ready, take out a piece of paper, have no judgment on its quality, but start with a line and see where it goes. Maybe it will be, because you're now mature, it will be different than someone else's, because children's paintings and drawings are all basically the same until they lose their fantasy and try to become more reproductive. Am I making any sense?
Yes, in fact, I've often recalled a classmate of mine when I was in kindergarten and remarking to myself on something he did when we would represent families in drawings. and maybe a lot of children do this, he would represent the head and then move immediately to limbs where there was no torso. And I remember asking you whether or not that was a child's limitation of creating a representation, or was that a degree of freedom that the child has before he feels the importunity of the obligation of rendering things as they nominally appear to be. Which do you think it is?
I think it's definitely a form of fantasy. A little child saying, "I don't have to do this now. I'll get back to those, or I won't." There is a wonderful free fantasy in children, except they don't have yet any technique. So many of them look the same jury colors, and then all of a sudden they're grown up. As Goethe said, all children are geniuses until 5. I've said that many times, and I've seen it in many children. I don't care very much to look at their work. It doesn't tell me anything except that they're children and they're having some sort of time, but what they are doing and gaining is that they're looking at an arm or a leg or a piece of clothing, and that will serve them later in life, because we do not really see enough. We're a visual culture, but we don't take anything apart and see that that chair has very interesting arms that are really unartistic, but it works for that chair. And the green, of course, works for the chair. I'm sure that there was other colors if you wanted to buy it, but the point is, for me, it's the slight weirdness of the arms that make this chair interesting.
The chair that you're looking at now.
Yes, we're not seeing it, but it's not important. It's not pretty, but it's a little interesting at least. Now, furniture is a minor form of art, and it can be absolutely wonderful.
Has it ever transgressed that minor form in your experience?
Oh, occasionally. I've seen some great Italian, pieces of furniture, and of course, all of the 18th century of the great furniture of the Rococo period is always amazing if it's not over-decorated, overdone. The furniture maker does not, though, have the artist's understanding of time and light and shade and expression. He has that wood or plastics or whatever he's using now.
And is that because his medium has to suffer the imposition of its use, meaning that a chair will always prohibit the freedom that someone working on a two-dimensional canvas will have?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm answering you, but I do think that the painting and its glory, or great music's glory, is that it's non-utilitarian. You do not have anything to take away from it. While what that chair really is not for me to look at its strange arms, or its color, or its very conventional legs. The child doesn't know yet that that's conventional legs. It has to first realize they are legs, and that takes a long time. The child doesn't see that thing as a thing to sit in necessarily. That's where they're a little freer than the adult who just says, "Oh yes, this is a chair first." But the child may see it as a form first, as I do. I don't know what other artists, I don't like to use that word unless it's given to you, but other craftsmen, draftsmen think of a work of art, but I think of it as, if it's not non-utilitarian, it has no worth except, as Picasso said, a wall's only importance is to put a painting on. And he was telling you that the wall itself doesn't have any importance except that painting, but of course the wall doesn't need the painting. Are these interesting thoughts?
Absolutely, and I think you are slowly approaching one of the questions that I'm always searching for an answer, which is I think we are starting to intrude into the imposition of utility upon the most glorious of the abstractions of an art.
Yes.
When we try to draw an analogy between those sacred abstract venues of art, when we try to draw an analogy between them. In other words, we have discussed the notion of painters or artists or draftsmen who will say, even though I concede a degree of the analogy, who will say that they have music playing in their studio because the one complements the other. And I've never heard anyone speak with greater clarity as to why, to a degree, that there's an absurdity in such a statement. Yet everyone wants to try to impress upon people, and I understand the earnestness and the romantic impulse to start there, to draw an analogy between them. But it isn't really there. Do you agree?
No, it's not there.
Right. Can you say more about
Well,
that?
I'll
Because very
say
few
something
people
that
are brave enough to say that.
I don't know about. I don't even think of it as brave. I think it's just there. You can't listen to music and paint and draw at the same time, just as you can't read a book and have any sort of focus on what's said. You'd have to go back, even if there's a thought in your brain chattering away, which happens all the time, and people don't realize that they just read the paragraph but without reading it in any way, so they must go back because they've lost something. Now when it comes to music is the most powerful art. It overtakes you. It can, like, if you are mentally in bad shape, you shouldn't, as they once said, don't listen to Tristan and Isolde, you may commit suicide afterwards. Music is so powerful. The Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, spells a whole planet for us. It's the earth, it's everything.
And yet, listening to you speak over the years, that degree of affect seems to reach you also in the plastic arts. You had just said that you felt that the music was the most powerful of arts, and yet I think by saying that, I think you were crediting its power, but not necessarily putting it above drawing and painting. Am I correct?
No, I never rank that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that music is an overwhelming thing. Aaron Copland said music was not overwhelming to him compared to the theater. So every artist will have, and let's say you have to be careful what you say, because every art piece is going to affect you in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say you are you're having a Mozart symphony
Mm-hmm.
on while you're painting, and it seems to be that painters are proud of this fact, because I would often, when I was at NCN as music director, program director, I would get calls, and it seemed that painters really needed a classical station like that to be inspired. Well, that means that their visual or abstract talent is weak. Mm-hmm. It's like your ear is not really very good. Mm-hmm. Your eye is not very good. Now, it took thousands of years to get away from representation, which is imitation of mm-hmm. nature, and that is what all painters strove for. Finally, by the early Renaissance, it was important to start painting faces, because not only were they technically good enough now in representation, they could get so many nuances in the face, but everyone now wanted, just as they want photographs today, that silly stuff, that photographic stuff is just absolutely minor at its best in art. It's never art. It's, are you clicking something and it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It will not improve with age. Put a painting of Gertrude Stein next to a photograph on the wall, and every day you'll go look at the Picasso Gertrude Stein, but you're not going to care about the photograph anymore. It doesn't even matter if the painting looks like her or not. Just as he said, it will, when she said the usual thing.
That's a wonderful line, yes.
Yeah. It doesn't look like me. Everyone says that from him. Well, it does, and Picasso goes further. It will, it will. But it took thousands of years from the cave to have man finally, with camera, by the way, giving its full credit, not as an art, for it doesn't, it's a minor art at the most. I mean, there are some major talents within it, of course. But as you see, it's all died out now. There's no dark rooms. There's no studying with Ansel Adams in a dark room, as a friend of mine once did in the summer. Everyone thinks they're a photographer, and they are, if they want to say that, because there's your iPhone, and you know every a document is printed. But yesterday, a friend of mine was, there's a beautiful picture of the Empire State Building. I said, it's absolutely terrific. I said, it's wonderful. But it has no meaning to me, you see. It is wonderful. It's well placed because my eye is always ready to see a composition. I don't see the world in a mass of junk. I see the world as compositions facing me all the time. And sometimes I would like to take my hand and put that building over there, you see, or there, or a tree over there. Now, once the artist had the camera do it for him, and better than he could, in the sense of a definitive, view of that, he didn't have any interest any longer, thank God. It took a long time, 5,000 years, to free him up to go into the world of abstraction. Of course, all of the dilettantes and the self-expression people have wanted to do paintings now. It's because it's so easy. But they're not abstract paintings. They're nothing. They're just blobs on the. There's no creative impulse. A monkey. There was a show of monkeys in London once. Their paintings. Anyone can do that, and somehow through chance something will look very, very good. But it's not from the creative impulse, which. Now, thank goodness, and the man who wrote the comment is quite right. I mean, I could not want, even if it's based on representation, ever have it look like that exactly, because that's what we've been trying to escape. I mean, it's so much fun to do a representative work if you have the technique, and you look at it and you say, oh, yes, that tree is, but only that painting there, that certain length. That painting has nothing to do with anything in there. It's as abstract as can be, and yet we now know by looking at everything, it's done as an abstract work, but it's based on representation. Just being based on that representation makes it less possible for me to like it, even though I had fun doing it.
Well, I imagine that you're using things that you see with the senses to augment the abstractions that you're seeing within. So that, could you say this is a fair statement, that you are, in your abstractions, dealing with documentation as a photographer does, but your photography through the brush and the pencil is of something that cannot be caught with a lens because it's within. And that the person who now is caught in the trap of the camera is in fact reducing his creativity because he's simply constantly caught on the flypaper of documentation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this idea, as I said, artists would say, keep programming Mozart, because when I paint Mozart, really,
Yes.
Well, I said to him, how could you possibly be painting when you're listening to Mozart? Mozart takes full focus. In the meantime, out of this ephemera of sound and while you're painting, and often very realistic, they're still trying to do that.
Well, what occurs to me is they don't realize from a process of logic that though they think they are celebrating both arts as equal,
oh.
they are denying the commutative property, meaning that they think one can paint to Mozart, but imagine the preposterousness of someone performing Mozart and trying to paint at the same time.
Right. Or even reading and trying to paint. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. I had mentioned before, because I've been diving into Byron's letters, how preposterous it would be for me to try to practice and say to a peer in the room, while I'm working on this and giving it my full attention, please read to me from Byron's letters. So.
Yes.
Now.
Well, something comes up
Yeah.
in my mind that never came up before with this idea of, music while you're painting.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, I think you understand how repulsive that is to me.
Yes.
You cannot blend those two arts. Spiritually, all art has the same, maybe depth of impulse that,
Mm-hmm.
goes out, and sometimes your genes are struck, and you have, you come out of the womb with, certain talents that make you go to become more of a Delacroix than a Mozart, but or sculptor or whatever be, or all the people that call themselves artists. These are people that should go to rap prison.
Yes. Well, this brings a question to my mind. The gentleman who gave the very, very
So astute, yes.
astute comment about the wall from our last episode also assembled a very astute set of examples of Liszt drawing analogies between piano playing and painting. But would you please, for our audience, distinguish that kind of analogy from the raw distinction that we are insisting has to be there? We can entertain those analogies that Liszt is making, but we know that Liszt is acutely aware that that analogy has only a superficial first application, that the real abstractions of those two globes of painting and music, well, Emerson talks about how two spheres can only touch, because they are spheres, at maybe the tiniest point. And so there's really very little contact. So art, meaning the plastic arts and music, are as spheres. They're independent globes or planets. So how do we distinguish between those attractive analogies that someone like a Liszt would make between painting and music and the real distinction that you and I are talking about now?
Well, when Liszt saw a Raphael,
Mm-hmm.
a certain one, I think the Marriage of the Virgin, he said, I too am a painter. And we don't know. It's just too impossible. The arts really are very far apart.
Mm-hmm.
Liszt did, a couple of drawings also when he was young. Everyone did, and sometimes they had to take drawing formally. I too am a painter. And Liszt, in his fantastic programmatic sense, did paint the world.
Mm-hmm.
The Forest Murmurs, which I was going through, which of course is to me far more important to realize that the melody is something that Ravel would copy very marvelously, and better even better than the masterpiece called Waldesrauschen of Liszt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another topic, this idea of even better and better,
Mm-hmm.
lesser and lesser. That's the only reason for criticism, to eventually have a world understand what is the consensus of opinion on a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Bernard Berenson was so important, where he made these many attributes, where he said, yes, that's not Bellini. I'm sorry, Bellini didn't paint that way, that little square, but that does come from the school of Bellini. So when the art museum would purchase it, they would have new information about the money spent, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Everything being about money, I despise that idea, but...
So when you're talking about attribution, you mean Berenson's acquiring skill over time to also confirm.
Exactly. It took a long, long time, until his Florentine drawings and paintings, these books came out,
Mm-hmm.
and he made a fortune because that was the time where in any little Italian town you could have many masterpieces in churches and especially in antique stores. People, when they go into an antique store today, they in their back of their mind they're going to try hopefully get something valuable for a small amount of money. That kind of thought goes into a TV show that sells you things. What is it called on public television? It's a
Antiques Roadshow.
Antiques Roadshow. I don't like the word antiques. A painting is never an antique. It's a piece of canvas that can be so easily destroyed.
Well, I guess, do you feel that, in a sense, antique is implying the etymology that is shared with the word antiquated, meaning it's an object that no longer has present use?
Yes, and it's very interesting that they sell good paintings there for far more than those objects. That remains something of a mystery to me because people don't really care about paintings, but they do have them in their attic.
Do you mean that on the program they mix the notion of, say, a piece of pottery?
Yeah, a tomahawk or a pottery.
Right, with a painting of significance.
And the painting that they decide is of significance. Remember, critics are also very liable to many errors. Berenson knew many errors in his life until he finally really said, I know Florentine drawings better than anyone in the world.
Well, he's such an interesting figure, and I owe my scant knowledge of him to you. Also through the fascination for journal keeping, and of course that last volume I thought was spectacular. Do you recall its title? Though I spend a great deal of time in terms of his journal keeping.
That last journal keeping, when he was nearly into his 90s,
yes.
Bernard Berenson, it's so fantastic that I feel that I'm absolutely. Here's an interesting analogy. I am not hearing any sound, but there's an analogy to the late Beethoven quartets. They are, as Sullivan said, states of consciousness. And these entries in that last book of his diaries are states of consciousness, and somehow I'm not hearing the music. I don't want my mind to hear music.
That I understand. So do you think it could be this, and forgive me for always leaning on Mr. Emerson, but it's simply because I know him well. He has an expression that we read only to start our own team. Do you think that could be what you are saying, that there is a degree of relationship ultimately in states of consciousness, but no team, meaning horses in harness, which are their own respective arts, can pull your wagon to that state of consciousness as if you could yoke all those different horses to one wagon. They have to be to their own respective wagons, even though they are going to the same mountaintop. So I knew right away when you said that you weren't necessarily hearing the music of Beethoven. You were talking about something very oblique, very wonderfully abstract.
Yes. And the moment you said, by the way, because this is the way I believe definitely I'm a creative mind. I don't mean that it produces anything of immortality. I'm just saying that I watch my mind a lot, and it really, it's far more interesting to me to watch my mind than to watch a television program. I mean, I'm always saying something to myself and I'm oh, it's a shame that I forgot that already, but you got to write it down. But as soon as you said the horse and the wagon, that was instantaneous, and I wanted to ask myself, why was it so instantaneous? That horse and wagon, I've had many instances in my life of seeing a horse and wagon, or you see them on TV and westerns all the time, or movie theaters, but this was different, you see. We are talking about art and draftsmanship and painting, and the moment you said horse and wagon, not even a second, there was no doubt it was 1/4 second, a complete photograph in my brain of a 13th century drawing, maybe 14th century, by the Van der Weyden, very great painter of the Belgian school, if I'm not mistaken. Nor do I care if I'm mistaken. You understand? I'm just trying to latch upon something that one or two people could know. And this is a drawing of a man with a beard, a horse, and the wagon, and it's full of these things he's selling. And that tradition went on all through the 20th century. In every city in America in the 40s, you still had the horse and
Yes, my father
paper
speaks
rags,
of that.
paper rags.
Yes, yes.
You don't see that much anymore, but
No.
you could see it on the internet with the one little thing of Rachmaninoff on West End Avenue. There's a horse and buggy going on West End Avenue, I believe.
Yes.
Could be in my mind. It's all right if it's just in my mind and not real.
Right.
But the drawing is so precise, and it's so great that once I actually copied it, you see.
I can imagine. Well, the image is strong with the idea of us yoking something from nature to pull us. Hence Mr. Emerson's phrase, hitch your wagon to a star, which is to a degree where I think you were reaching with the analogy between Berenson and Beethoven, that they're ultimately being pulled by the impulse of the star, but the draft forces are different.
Yeah, yes. Going back to the idea of the painter listening to music, whatever it be. Well, this is a new thought from that, and one of the reasons I wouldn't call this process too authentic is that the music is too strong. What you're doing is doing something, especially if you're trying to paint some realistic flowers or some idiotic subject like that. A flower has to be a pattern that comes out of your being. So here I'm having this music piped in, by the way. There, he doesn't have 5 people there, doing it for him. He's not paying his guests some money to at least survive. That's what they did in Haydn and Gluck's day. Both of them were on the street, beggars, and using their musical instruments, one a violin, another one, and so forth, so they could get some money. Poor musicians can't even get any money anymore. Oh no, it's all piped in. Everything's piped in. It's all for free. How dare them play Beethoven's Fifth? Rubinstein said to me once, "Don't play my recordings. I'm not making anything from them." Well, he's not a businessman, really, but he's resenting. You can get this for free. Rachmaninoff refused when he played a concerto with the New York Philharmonic, and it would be, broadcast in the 30s to many, many cities. Remember, it took about 10 years to get to all the cities that would have the facility, NBC, Symphony Orchestra, or whatever. It started with 9 cities, and then it was nationwide. That all took a long time to happen. But Rachmaninoff would play his second concerto. It was the most popular concerto. Every movie, Trevor Howard's movie, what is that?
Oh yeah, Brief Encounter.
Fabulous movie by David Lean, I think.
Yes.
And Trevor Howard was marvelous, as he is always. And 1946 movie, Rachmaninoff makes the movie.
Yes, he does.
Even though I'm in pain hearing it, I'm still swayed by it because it's so powerful. Well, the movie should be powerful, not the Rachmaninoff, you see?
Yes.
It's that music in movies can drive me crazy. I can't stand it. It's unbearable. I've almost never heard anything good. And now they don't use music. They use noise sequences. So everything is going down in the world of movies.
Well,
but going back, where was I?
I just wanted to say before we left that topic, how to such a self-conscious degree, the use of the second piano concerto is then used in the 7-Year Itch as a parody of undue influence, not only on the characters, but of the medium of the movie itself.
Absolutely. Tom Ewell is there, and he looks at the Rite of Spring or something on an LP, and Marilyn Monroe is, in his mom. It is a phenomenal satire.
Yes.
And Rachmaninoff, everyone loves this. You
Yes.
see that that horrible thought of multi-liking, all these people liking it. Can't be good in this country until everyone likes it. Or any country. I
Yes,
have
yes.
no interest in countries.
I understand.
But going back again, I didn't finish. There was, let's say, there was a big climax in the music, and here you are. You're painting your little, dog here,
Yes.
or your little tree, because abstract work refuses to be butted in by music.
Yes.
So these painters are telling me even how they're painting, or portraits, which are, unless they're distorted, I don't want to, give me the photograph any day.
It's as if they're trying to travel by air, but they're following a railroad below them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here comes the great climax, and what are you doing? Your arm is, maybe you're going to be conducting now, and they do.
Yes.
I don't even want to see in my mind what painters use music for. It is immoral. Imagine saying something like that, because art is your highest form of immortality and morality. I don't want to see. I don't want to see anything tainted. Not music, which my God, I too am a painter. Liz said, well, he didn't mean it in the sense of Picasso. He had no mindset of any abstraction. The world was moving slowly toward, in his lifetime, the Impressionists, which was the first great movement of modernism.
When you say Liszt had in his mind no notion of abstraction.
No, only in his music.
In his music, yes.
To give you, I too am a painter, but he was talking not about subject matter, but the nuance of music, the colors, and as he said, nuance is the artist's palette. He's thinking of possibly colors that are beautiful, which can be very beautiful in any Bellini or Leonardo or any. That's one of the things that they do. And what they do is represent also on an abstract level. Every single great painting of the High Renaissance is painting of abstraction. The Mona Lisa, the Great Woman with the Ermine, all of these are way beyond any realism.
So that's a wonderful topic. Can you say more on that?
I don't know. I mean,
because I think it's a frontier that laymen desperately need. And also, I think people like myself, I think of myself as, to a degree, a pianist, and principally a writer. And that's, in a sense, a war for my identity on two fronts. But you have maintained this division on even more fronts and kept them dutifully separate.
Yes, separate. You must do that. You don't combine arts. You don't.
Yeah. So how do you think you instinctively knew to do that so early? Because I never detect those, how do I put them, analogies that are only okay at the point of origin. But if we really move into the realm of abstraction, we can no longer draw analogies between the means that were reached, or that were used to reach the abstraction. Those vanish. How do you keep those separate? Because if we return to the theme of your wall here, I think there surely is no accident in the arrangement here. And yet,
interesting. Every piece I do, I'm not saying how good it is, that is not of any interest to me, except, to me, not if someone likes it, that's wonderful. But of all the arts, painting is the one most subjectively difficult. I can have a fine musician come and visit me, and often they do, and they have no idea that anything's on the wall or whatever, or if I say, oh, who's painting, they have nothing to say about it. many musicians are so non-pictorial. What is this? Non-visual.
Well, look, I committed that fallacy even in the beginning of our conversation today. There's a degree of analogy between the wall at WNCN, where you were programming for one art experienced over time, and here's a wall that is not experienced over time. I mean, to a degree, it does take time in a very almost Einstein fractional sense for me to move my eye to one to another. But a painting is not experienced over time as music is. And so I committed that sin right away in terms of analogy, trying to draw the analogy between those two walls in the sense that I use the word programming, that we do create, and as I've read in so many of your books, there's an art to creating a pianist's program of what should be adjacent to what, and what should end the program and what should begin it, and all those different degrees of consideration. And yet, that completely falls apart. I'm smart enough to know that that analogy completely falls apart when I then know that some degree of programming was at work here. And that's where I know I'm not equipped except to defer to how you would describe it, how the person who has achieved the discipline of a third front in addressing how we can approach abstraction, and the third front for you again is the plastic arts. How is that program, which is outside of unfolding time and all the considerations of music from which I can draw an analogy, how is that program to a degree enabled in your mind or executed?
Very difficult to answer such a question. It's such a various question. It's such a deep question. There's no doubt that every painting I do will have something different that stimulated it. If I go back into my mind and try to figure it out. The one I showed you today came out of a rather despairing day. I wasn't very happy. And something else in another day had been drawing me to go find this blue board for something I want to do on it, but I don't know what it will be. Now, I've been wondering for a while, this is crazy. I mean, of course, most people don't live like this. Let me get my cheeseburger now.
Okay.
I have to do that, but I have to go through all of these crazy things. And, you know, you don't love doing it, you just do it because you are you. I'm not saying I'm better, I'm just different, and I don't think that many people have the great desire to look at beautiful things. It's been rather weeded away from us. Edith Wharton in 1907 in a letter said that I'm afraid that the concept of beauty is over with for Americans. And you can, have a million different aspects to that, where the cities, the look of the cities, I mean, I can't stand them. It doesn't mean it has to be some medieval beauty or Bavarian castles. I'm talking about architecture of such horror. Mencken said long ago, he said, I've been in all the world's unloveliest towns, and they're all in America.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Wharton.
I don't mean that there aren't parks or there are not this or that. Even on I don't like to see railroad. I don't want to, as Ruskin said, about that horrible iron horse is so ugly. William Morris said the same thing. I don't want to forget the formulas of everything. Everything is a formula for the uncreative mind. All of these people that produce these series, they're horrible. Every single thing you can say before it happens will happen. Okay, water will appear now, or fire, or explosion, or gun, or this, or
When you say a series, do you mean a documentary about the
No,
work of
no
an artist.
documentary. Any of
Mhm.
these Netflix series, all of them that you sit and watch for 20 hours, you know, or something.
Well, again, that must be because the imposition is always there from perhaps a layman with good intentions to draw false analogies, including the sequence of one's own life causing the impulse of the creation for the plastic artist. And that's what I am desperately asking of you, because we share ground in writing and music, and I very much consider myself a very lucky apprentice in hearing you describe the moments that lead to your work in drawing and painting. What does that moment of compulsion not so much feel like, but how is that formulated in the mind? I have a certain degree of understanding of that through the piano for music and for prose.
Well, as I said, I just showed you something. It's about this big, and the process getting to it was find that blue board.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to do it that day. I'm, basically lazy. I don't know what the word is for the any form of ennui.
Yes.
Stops you.
Yes.
It's terrible.
And is that because the impulse is there, but the inner realization is not complete
It's
yet?
not ready. It's not
Yes.
ready.
Mm-hmm.
When Honecker said that the artist is plagued by ennui more than any other thing, yes. I mean, think of it if you have to write every single day, that you have to practice every single day. It's just impossible for a really creative person to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The person that is, has to do it because the concert's coming up and you have to play perfectly and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's very tough. It's the last thing you really want to do is get yourself to the piano. Then, of course, you're in it within a minute or two, and you're hearing the music and everything is fine. But you're still having trouble with the fact that you practiced the same day, the same thing last week or yesterday. But going back to the drawing, it's just a drawing, and it's thin. It has its problem in seeing it 6 feet away, even because it's just a thin black ink with a pen, and I wanted to do something in that pen. It was a Mont Blanc pen, and I had to have the ink there because it doesn't hold enough, that specific pen, to even go through a drawing. It could be a defect, I don't know, but the point is all that comes in your mind. Not in your mind, but in your feeling. You just know that's the black ink. You have to open it. You have to be very careful because I always spill everything. Got the pen in there. I had finally, after 3-4 days, I knew I wanted a total line drawing. I knew that I wanted something that emulated maybe some sort of Etruscan feel of a face. And they were, one is very funny, one is within the, and it looks down. I can show it to you, but that we can do that next week. Is it good? Well, under Duval, there was the board is very fragile, soft, so there's some a little dirt, which I wish it wasn't there. But it's all, that's the painting. How long did it take? Exactly 4.5 minutes of non-thinking, knowing where every line was to go because the hand knows. Just like the human erection, if you're attracted and you're in, you touch or something, that thing goes up.
Understood.
The line does it itself. It's so fantastic a feeling. You're not thinking of a quote from a book. You're not thinking of eating. You're not peeing. You wouldn't even know that you would be peeing later or something right out. It was it lives in its own, and that's why you cannot have some nuance of Liszt could devise colors in music, even on a monochrome like the piano, but these minor painters who think that they're doing something with music, music and painting, it's nothing. I don't know why they want to do that.
Is there, however, because you have such hard-earned knowledge, to stand an analogy to the manual servitude that is shared by both of them, is there ever, after a time away from executing a painting, a degradation like a pianist feels in his dexterity?
Yeah.
And how did an artist articulate that?
Well, you knew it from the beginning, but you liked the whole, and there was a part of it that was not there. It was wrong placement. Something happened, some mistake. We always talk about the great adventure of the happy mistake, the happy error. It's not. There's not many of those really.
Okay.
It's of a piece.
And so, in other words, that happy error comes about more often when the hand is out of practice as a executant, as a painter?
No,
No?
I don't
Okay.
know. It's
I just meant when one comes back to the
it's
piano.
good. No, it's good.
Yeah,
It's good.
okay.
It's out. It could be out of practice. No, it could be out of fear. Once there's any fear of the hand not dominating
Mm-hmm.
the great language that is in the interior, and never has it been more wonderful for more people that are artists. Look at the 20th century. I mean, there's been no centuries to compare with the unbelievable diversity of great painters.
Mm.
I mean, Picasso alone, I mean, how many works? 2,000 works. He's standing, every day of his life. What unblocked creatures. There's no physical pain when he's in pain all the time when he's not painting. But
How do you account for the proliferation of that lack of blockage when we seem to have passed through a century that has troubled so many other people in their interiors? What do you make of that?
well, our century has no art. That's the problem. Oh, and
But it had produced some of the greatest artists.
the greatest artists, because someone has to try to figure out, in the world of abstraction, the disorder is so vast, and how you can have all the disorder you want. Now, you're free to do it, but it still has to have an overall order, and that's what I'm saying when I'm finding out, that's not what I had wanted. This was not a good, and I'd like to throw the painting away, or drawing, and I have often done it. There will always, that's why Picasso said no painting's ever finished. But yes, they are definitely over-finished, where you can't go back. There are problematic patches. But the wonder is that you can move without having to be a camera eye. So you're going to be giving people the pleasure of seeing this landscape on a canvas. Corot's stuff does not enchant me the way the people of that time does. I mean, the Renaissance background stuff, they say, they couldn't do landscapes, they weren't good. No, they're so good because they're not good. Because they weren't concentrating on the portrait or the subject matter from the Bible or mythology. Going back to the wall, I always look for painting on the walls wherever I go. And when I see a lithograph, what do you call it, a poster. Why would they buy a poster of an ad for the Met's, Monet series? Why don't they buy a little drawing that's original or do something of their own? Like I told you once, Beecher had paintings on his wall. I said, where'd you get them? I just did them. I mean, no big deal. But here you are, it's all framed, and the Metropolitan has sold it, And every time you sell anything um, in bulk, like Van Gogh's Starry Night, you must have 5,000 or 100,000 rooms in this country with the reproduction of the Starry Night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please, what is that doing to you? You must see that,
Yeah.
In a book on Van Gogh, or go see it at the Modern Museum.
Mm-hmm.
It's far more overwhelming than to see your paper, on the
Mm-hmm.
wall. But what's the bad part of this economically?
Mm.
It's a good Van Gogh. It's not a great one. It's not. It's wonderful. I would love to have
Mm-hmm.
been the man doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The man doing it.
Mm.
I'd love to be able to become Leonardo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, these people had things in them that I want
Mm-hmm.
to feel.
Mm-hmm.
They were, oh my God, to be the Lord of men like Leonardo. This was not Odysseus created by Homer. This is a man. This man is a giant.
Mm-hmm.
When I say the statue of that Michelangelo's working on in his last days, 4 years he's working on it and it's not done.
Mm-hmm.
He must have come every day. He's so old. He's 89 and he's chipping it away. It's never done. He knows it shouldn't be done because if it was done, it wouldn't be as hallucinatory.
Mm-hmm.
What went on in those 4 years as he tramps in Milan to doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's such a wonderful thing to have and touch the art of painting, a language that's just dying.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone could do something. It's amazing. The Little Princess, Countess Wodzinska's exquisite drawing of Chopin. Oh, she's a 16-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a beautiful, realistic drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love to do realistic drawings too, but not to the point where I'm spending, madness watching it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go from beginning to end, just like any drawing, and then have that satisfaction, because it never leaves you, of seeing something realistically done well.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great form of technique, and it's talking about, not using the hand. This is using the hand as you place its scales and arpeggios and studies by Cerny or Kramer, or etudes by Chopin. It's really warming you up, so you can again have that space to do anything that the unconscious, because it comes from the unconscious. You see, where all art is, and of course, where Beethoven would hear a motif, he'd write it down, and it would last in his incredible unconscious for 25 years until he decided to bring it up to the conscious and move it along. Remember, Western music is not the only music. You may not like Chinese opera, but the Chinese may like it very much. You may not like Indian music because it has a monotony, because it's not composed in the way we compose. In tremendous segments of it's amazing how much the 12 tones have provided, and how much great music that there is. But it is a vocabulary that's worn out now. It's gone. Great music cannot be composed now, except it could be very cerebral, and if you're that type or you're a great chess player, it may it may help. You may love it. As a mathematician loves mathematics, I can understand that purity, because purity in painting abstractly can be very, especially with a limited framework of color, can be very, very austere, and as Clyde Bell called it, you can have from Giotto on, Cimabue Giotto on to our time, quality that he says is even above any kind of religious madness you could have of seeing, Jesus, let's say. Many people see Jesus every day, but it's absolute, it has nothing to do with that there's a Jesus. But there is aesthetic ecstasy that's much higher.
Yes.
And that's very real. It's much higher than religion or government or being president. To be able to look at something, just someone that doesn't do it even, you don't have to be, and you go and you watch that Botticelli and you have thrills of the beauty of it goes so deep, the eye just has captured it, and now you watch it, and yet you see at the Met they have tallied the time, and people don't watch anything for more than a few seconds. They're not there to see. What are they there for? What do they go to the museum for? To meet their friends, to have coffee, or at the Modern Museum for the free movie? I don't know what they're there for. They just passing by. I was at the Met once, and there was a very interesting American, early 19th century landscape, large painting in their American room. I was there for 2 hours. I was suspicious. They looked at me suspiciously. They're thinking, maybe, who knows, maybe this guy's gonna try to steal it.
Did you say what the painting
I
painting
can't
was?
remember it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
It's minor painter, but it's a marvelous painting.
Okay.
Great painting. And not in any abstract style, but it's also not realistic to the point where, it satiates you. It's another problem with realism. It satiates you just as the photograph does. You don't look at photographs too many times.
You think we only look at it to confirm the likeness, and once we feel we've made that confirmation, there's nothing to see?
Yeah, even the tourist, wherever he goes, he's with his damn camera. That camera we're indebted to because it opened up the modern art. It gave you the chance to throw it away forever, that representation crap. I don't want to see representation except the way Gauguin does it, or the way, So I'm waiting till 1910 or 11 for Kandinsky to come along and really do it. And does he do it? Wow.
Then why do so many people carry around, so to speak, the key that unlocked the handcuffs of representation, and yet just simply continue to carry around this ponderous key rather than take advantage, however humble their talents may be, take advantage of their freedom?
If I don't know, I could take a realistic drawing I did, and show it to someone, and they'll like that much better than the other stuff, because that's what they're still used to. Oh, you can copy that well? There's that Pat. It's not an insult, naturally. It's not. It's ridiculous to me. I just do that to keep my eye in shape. It's fun to try to get a likeness. They had the fun of doing that, but it's no longer fun because you can't create art. It was very hard to create art, and many times 1,000 years at a time.
Well, that praise must simply be reassuring to them because it diminishes the inner threat of the unknown person. The thing that you're carrying within is so foreign to them because they maybe think if it is even in a fraction in themselves, they'll go to their graves having neglected it. So when they see that you've done something representative, it's somewhat reassuring that your eye may have their same limitations of satisfaction merely in confirming the senses. That's what I think is happening at that moment.
These are very nebulous things to talk about, and you can disagree with yourself the next day.
Yes.
But going back to the wall, I don't want to leave this without to me, last week we talked about, I was listening to 3 performances of the G minor ballade while I was doing it silently. Wojciech, Hoffman, and one other. And when I was finally done with my proud wall, at WNCN, the management called it. They used to. I was a tourist attraction for the buyers. There were still people buying time. It wasn't up to the people to support.
Right.
The
You mean the
station.
advertisers buying
Yes,
time?
a
Yes.
commercial station within the concept of capitalism. I'm going to make a profit. And today we can't make a profit. We can't even have any patronage any longer, as we now know from the government. But they're taking away everything, and it was always one of the worst amounts of money in the Vienna State Opera gets more money from the Austrian government than we had in the whole Washington, whatever the whole pool of money for the arts of the United States. You said, oh, they don't care if they even go to the grave without searching it. And no, they sure don't. And as Kenneth Clark said, be careful, there's a very great hostility to art.
I think that's what that is.
Yes.
What accounts for the growth of the hostility? Because WNCN was viable commercially, which seems to me in the blink of an eye yesterday over my shoulder. Where did that go?
Gone.
Why?
QXR was the last moment. WQXR in New York, at that time 96.3. It was bought by no one ever thought it was covered up in such an interesting way. It was already 60 years New York had this station and took it for granted as a classical, station where you bought time. I'd often go to a lunch with clients to make sure that the Aaron Copland comments would have someone like me to authenticate its marvel. I'd go on the train to Connecticut and have this power lunch, then they called it.
When you say to authenticate its marvel, you mean to reinforce to the people buying time that what was being heard was as elevated as it is.
Yes,
because they're not sure.
Well, yeah, they may never have heard of Aaron Copland.
And see, that goes back to the notion of the person looking at one of your representations rather than your abstractions. Is people are so uncertain.
Oh, God.
That they need to be told what is of value.
Oh, I can't stand it.
And hence the print of the Starry Night. What they're revealing is comprehensive uncertainty. The more you see of these prints on the wall, the more you're hearing the revelation of the person who says, I don't know how to choose. I wander through the world uncertain how to choose beauty.
But if I have it in my wall, boy,
Yes.
my next door neighbor, who is even more stupid, says, oh, you have a great painting on your wall. Oh, yes. Well, what does that painting really do? We didn't finish that thought.
Yes.
That painting does something so disgusting. Van Gogh never sold a painting in his poor life. The man was really in despair. Not in despair in the way we think of this stupid depressions that we have today. We're talking about much deeper. And here he is. He never sells a painting. He's has psychotic fits occasionally. He has syphilis. He's going to definitely kill himself at 36 or 7, that magical time where everyone kills themselves. Be careful if you're about 36.
Okay.
And what does it do? The poor guy starving has to wait for Theo, who's getting poorer and poorer, and who dies, by the way, only 3 months after the brother that he worked so hard to keep alive. Theo was some brother. Send him the money to keep going. Get colors. Because, you don't need food, you need colors. And the Starry Night in 10,000 or 1,000,000 homes. Disgusting thought. I'm not going to be popular because everyone may be having the Starry Night or some masterpiece. When I see a Mona Lisa on the wall, oh my goodness. If I see an engraving, I say, oh, well, that's a pretty good reproduction, but it isn't Durer's Melancholia. Melancholia, one of the greatest engravings of all time. I know I'm not getting to my point, and the point is this. All of those reproductions on the wall do nothing for Van Gogh eating tomorrow, and all it does is raise the price for the buyer who really wants that original, such as recently a Japanese or someone, I think in Japan, bought The Holler by Munch for $100 million or something. Why would that painting, which just happened to be and probably in a studio for 3 years, why is that painting so good? It's not good. It's not even a good abstraction. The Howl, yes, or whatever the title, is fine. I mean, we feel a little, but it's not that good, and it's not worth, if you wanted to make money sound like it's worth it, it's not worth that piece of canvas, is not worth $100 million. Give me that $100 million and I'll buy a museum for my junk, or use it to build careers for pianists. But why do you need to have that canvas? Munch needed a little money from a friend. That's how painters used to survive, by the way. The friends or the relatives would, instead of putting up these paintings on the walls that are man-made reproductions, they would buy from their fellow artists. Or they would have a great patron like Gertrude Stein or Leo Stein, or the great patronages of the 18th century. There should be biographies of the Esterházys because of what they did for us. They housed Haydn for 33 years, made that man create the sonata form. He said, I have this wonderful place that I have no troubles. Every artist wants no troubles so they can create. They don't need to have flaming lives. But as you said last week, all of these major artists had tremendous lives as well.
Yeah, of such color.
Yeah.
Even things that we would have to be bound to reproach, and yet they're beyond reproach because they pay somehow or exonerate themselves in this a great picture of a life, or the life is the work. When you were talking about these reproductions, I also couldn't help but think of a line from the end of a short story of Truman Capote called The Thanksgiving Visitor, and the sentence is simply this, and I wanted to hear what your reaction was, and I won't put the context in play, but just say the line: there are never two of anything. And perhaps that also is the great sin in looking at these constant reproductions, this notion that somehow the thing that can only exist in one place and one time, and I think that's one of the glories that I can see, that I know for sure for myself as a person not trained to speak for my own self-satisfaction about the plastic arts, but I know one of its great things is that there are never two of any of those results.
Right.
And in essence, even in working on your books for your drawings and paintings, knowing how inadequate, not only my own photographic skills being so inadequate, but knowing instantly as a layman how, when I photograph your work, it is not a second of that thing. There are never two of anything. So
Never, no.
We have to behold the work of the artist in the instance of its materiality. That's another miraculous thing about being alive in this mortal coil for a finite amount of time. All of this stuff matters. So of course we all want to maybe dream that we will become angels or immortal. But wow, this stuff is a great thing to be around. And we get a finite time to look at it. And I think the plastic artist emphasizes that for us, that there's only one of anything.
Yes, and I think it was one of the biggies of the Impressionists, Monet, who, by the way, did a wonderful portrait of Debussy. Oh my God, and Renoir. Debussy was a very, very interesting subject in every muscle counted of, and Monet did it. Oh, what a painting! 1905 or something. And around 18, a much younger Renoir at that time actually went to Palermo. Wagner was so famous, we can't even imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
We have fame on, you know, on this junk stuff, nothing else. Some rocker died recently, and a good friend of mine called 9 minutes alone on NBC of a man I never even heard of. I never want to hear any of that junk. I mean,
Well, I'm reminded
please.
yet again of your evenings with Horowitz. Do you remember the one chapter where you describe entering his apartment and the first thing he says when he presents himself for that day is, "Who's Ricky Nelson?" And you reply, "Oh, he was a rock star." And he just, apparently you describe Horowitz as saying, "Never heard of him."
No, I never heard of it.
And of course that's to his credit. We need more people who
We must stop
Who
listening
start-
to this people
who stop-
and giving them this incredible
Yeah.
amount of money.
never heard of him
To
is a
do
phrase
this.
we have to recover.
I don't want to see every minute of the day Elvis Presley.
Yes.
If you open that iPhone, you know,
Yeah.
there he is.
Well, he almost seems venerable compared to some of the people who are now achieving
come on,
notoriety.
Absolutely. What,
So,
do you see this Rolling Stone fellow? I mean, it looks like 300 years old, and he moves around though. Give him that
yes,
credit.
give him that credit. He's still
They're
ambulatory.
still making money while nobody is looking at my paintings or reading your books.
Well,
Well, I mean, we can expect nothing. We have to take our little joys where we can get them, such as that comment
yes.
from this friend of ours. Obviously he's a friend now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to the wall. The
Yes.
wall was no simple thing for me. As I told you, they'd come to see the Wailing Wall and watch like I made it into a dramatic thing. Why did I make it into
We're
a
talking about the
dramatic
wall
thing?
at
The
WNCN.
wall at WNCN
Mhm.
was a big thing.
Mhm.
If you were like a possible, you know, buyer or something of,
Mhm.
and we were invited to the studios, which were very, very beautiful studios. This is of course David Duvall, our music director, and he's just suffering over the next piece.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I do this because they don't care what the format is.
Mm.
I mean, the people that I had to struggle against,
Mhm.
I don't know if I could never do that again because I knew I would be defeated. And of course I was. I was defeated, and it became, you know, then a rock station. Then it came back as a classical station because of the FCC and a certain woman that got, you know, these people together. And then in 1990 or so, it became another rock station.
Mhm.
This rock stuff rules the world.
Mm.
Celebrity tarts. Every one of them, man or woman.
That's a good expression.
Yeah, it is a good expression. Mine, it's mine. Okay, so here we are. I'm done with the week. I mean the month, and it goes into a program guide, a keynote magazine, of which I have a few copies, and I think it becomes the most important month that anyone could ever have if they listened nonstop, for the care that I gave it. No one knew, no one cared, but they'd take me off the air at will or whatever they wanted to do with me or anyone. Never have a boss. As the great Willard Beecher said, always be self-employed, even when you're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I remembered that very well. And now no one wants me at all. But so the wall is there. I see it perfectly. It doesn't have to come to me. I see the packets. It was all from a 1.5 million card black boxes that you open to 1 minute pieces or 30 seconds or 20 seconds, you know.
Yes.
to a 11-second piece was the shortest.
Okay.
And this was done under my direction with such care because they didn't understand. I couldn't give them this format. This is my technique.
Mm-hmm.
This is a radio technique that was invented by me and ended by me, I'm certain.
Mm-hmm.
It was never done in so formally in every way, every
Mm-hmm.
month the same way. With always no repeats any
Mm-hmm.
month of any piece.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine.
Yes.
And how did I do this? I didn't, I would see that every card or from every record had all the performers. If you were a performer, Isaac Stern in a chamber thing with
Mm-hmm.
the pianist Istolman and the cellist Rose,
Mm-hmm.
you would have under Rose that piece. You would have it under Stern, and you would have it under the pianist Istolman. So I could get that three ways.
Mm-hmm.
Now every single piece would be cataloged
Mm-hmm.
under the form if it was an important form. So I had my hands waiting to go on every single aspect. If it was 20 pieces, I could find the card with all 20 pieces and their timings.
Mm-hmm.
It was all ready for me to paint.
Mm-hmm.
I painted a tremendous format of 168 hours in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there was the month at the end. And I actually looked at it as a painting
Mm-hmm.
because it was a bland painting and it had things, and every day was represented. You put the card down,
Mm-hmm.
and every single day had 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I would then give myself a great treat and a really great learning process. I know so much music compared to most people
Mm-hmm.
that when I hear a piece of music, I do not know what it is because I've heard too much. You know
Say
what
that
I-
again.
Well, let's say the Beethoven Fourth is on.
Yes.
Well, I know that separately very well,
Mm-hmm.
but let's say it just comes to me, in a waft somewhere,
Yes.
maybe through on a street, who knows where. I mean, not a street, but
I know what you mean.
and streets are for those boom boxes. May they die.
Well, yeah, what you're describing is very familiar to anyone who's spent many years in a
Yeah.
conservatory practice room hallways where
Exactly.
you hear fragments.
What is that work? What is
Yes,
that work?
uh-huh.
Is that funerary of Liszt? No, I'm sorry, it was
Mhm.
something else.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, someone says, "What's that piece?" I said, "I just don't know. I know it, but I just, I can't say." Borodin's Second Symphony. But anyway, I would now, at the end of my month, often about 5 or 6 in the morning,
Mhm,
I didn't
mhm.
want anyone around.
Mm.
I would come in, could be at 3 in the morning and work till 6, finishing it up, or
Mhm.
different times. I don't like to do anything in any specific time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get away with that in the 8-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, they used to want me to come in, 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone does that. But I don't like what everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I didn't like the people there, but I mean, it always caused a little pain that I would walk in when I wanted and they couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I got away with a lot because, but it was not enough. I mean, not enough to, it really, really what I did preserved the WNCN for at least 10 years longer than it would have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I so wowed them with the greatness of the place. I was a propagandist within my own place.
Mm-hmm.
So I would look at the great painting I did in that would be coming out in 3 months. I was always 3 months ahead because of
Okay.
the okay.
Yes.
So I never knew at that time what month I was really living in.
Mm.
So let's say now it's March 1st, and I would, April 1st, was Rachmaninoff's birthday, Busoni's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a 7 o'clock with Stravinsky's Happy Birthday theme, opening it.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked having it at that time because I called Lucien Ricard my money voice. He was the best voice of all. Came from Montreal, and he could speak French well and all. And he did anniversary concert at 7 to 8, and that was a wonderful. Every single person of any note would have something on his birthday, or if there were three people, it would be three or whatever. Morton Gould and Messiaen or something. So I would be able to program. Once there was a great moment, and it shows you that the power I had, because anyone else would have said, you can't do that anymore. Later on, that happened more and more. You can't do that anymore.
Okay.
Well,
What are examples of what one couldn't or wouldn't could
no,
not do
no,
anymore?
no female voices allowed.
You mean
No leader, no
leader? What was the complaint behind that?
That people didn't really like female voices. They didn't know what they were talking about. I wasn't the boss. You would think I certainly had it in my power for a long time to be, but soon they would, Ned Rorem's Lions, which is such a beautiful 10 minutes, hardly something that, I would get on my desk. This is near the end of my career. Programming inappropriate. Don't ever play that again. The Lions.
You told me.
Isn't that incredible? Yes. Isn't that incredible that I had to put up with that from?
Yes.
From.
Well, you've had a lot to bear.
I did.
And yet.
And worst of all, it was not for me, in the sense that all I wanted to do was get my show back, because after one of these corporations would own it, they decided to just put me in the back room and program again, And I could get away, of course, with things like coming in when I wanted, because I had such an ability to say, I am not paid by my time, I am paid by my service. And that really was impressive.
Yes, it is.
And they believed it.
That's a tremendous statement, because again, it circles back to the plastic arts. It's an analogy, but a painter pays by his service, in the sense that we don't know any kind of unfolding of time in the presence of the object that is static in time. And yet there are tremendous amounts of hours that go into that execution, but ultimately the only evidence is its service. Whereas music, prose, they unfold through time, in the time experience of the person who experiences it as the person perceiving it. So they draw an analogy perhaps to the amount of time given in the work, even though it's not representative. But yet again, there's that magic of the wall.
I can find that even though, let's say, these were done a decade ago, this specific series,
yes,
I can follow it and stay with it and go to a place here, there, watch how it lives through this or this color or what, or that one on black canvas, which is, and I can stay with it with a mind uncluttered far better than if I was listening to music where my mind starts cluttering quickly. Especially if it's a long time cycle. I mean, I would say to my students who were nervous to play, don't be nervous. I am, but don't be nervous, because nobody's really listening to you. Everyone is having thoughts all the time about what they're eating tonight, who they're meeting, what kind of bad argument they had. I don't know.
Right.
They're hardly listening. Maybe there's the Romeo and Juliet theme I love so much. Okay, I listen for it, and then it back. That's just
Yes.
That's how they can get away with selling the great moments of classic classical
Yes.
music. May they die in front of my feet.
I understand.
So here I am. I still haven't gotten to it, and we'll end our
Okay.
today with it. I would take out April 1st. I would see, maybe I would have on morning concerts
Mm-hmm.
the Vocalese.
Rachmaninoff?
Yes.
Yes.
And I would take that card. I would just look the Vocalese. Okay, that was my first, and it was very important what I had next to each other. Often I would never mix keys. If it was C minor, I would try not to get a C minor piece next to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would see how much of this I could hear briefly to say, to test myself. Okay, here comes in the afternoon concert. By that, open it up. Borodin Third Symphony, B minor. I love it.
Mm.
And soon I would find where I didn't know the pieces, and it would often be the Vivaldi junk where I would put in the, Vivaldi's a great composer, but he wrote a lot of
I know what
stuff
you
that
mean.
sounds alike. And
You mean try to hear in your mind's ear?
yes, and
Yes.
mind's ear.
Yes.
And soon I would pick out enough I'm putting on Janacek's opera on Saturday opera, the Dostoevsky one without female voices. What's the name of the? Anyway, I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had much curiosity at that time musically.
Mm-hmm.
And I would then get that recording, and let's say I would come in at 9 or 10 or midnight, I would get that recording out.
Mm-hmm.
And I would study the libretto at my desk, and it would be wonderful to be alone
Mm-hmm.
listening. There was one year I listened to Katya Kabanova, the Macropolis Case, Yanufa, his first great opera
That was the name I was thinking you were trying to reach for, but it's not.
No.
Okay.
House of the Dead, I think, was
Okay.
the Dostoevsky. Fantastic works.
Mm.
They enriched me so much that
Mhm.
year
Mm-hmm.
that Janacek, I would start understanding, was never played anywhere. Nobody ever heard of him then.
Mm-hmm.
And I would play not beside the operas, I would play the Sinfonietta for 12 trumpets, or I would the Taras Bulba, the Diary of One Who Vanished. It's with a woman though, is a gypsy, and this piano music is everything about this man. The 2-string quartets called the Intimate Pages and the Kreutzer Sonata,
Mm-hmm.
which inspired it. You would never know. Once again, you could say the Shithole Sonata or
Mhm.
something else.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. But the point is, these works. In fact, I introduced some of them to Aaron Copland.
Mm.
For Copland and I would get together after his session.
Mhm.
Think of it, and
Yes.
I would play for him because it was the great moment of the LP. Every single day, a new great classical performance would come out, and 1 out of 5 could be Maxwell Davies' Revelations or some new work.
Mm-hmm.
And Copland was every new work he couldn't get enough of listening, but
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So there were many things that formed
Mm-hmm.
good things for me, but they all stemmed from me,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember with satisfaction those evenings with Janacek alone.
Mm-hmm.
Marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
I also trained myself never to hear too much that you didn't want to hear. In other words, there's a beautiful melody, or it could be a pop melody, or it could be an advertisement, and it just sticks to you like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to have my mind ever filled with music. I don't like it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Because it suppresses original thinking?
I don't know if the word original, I don't think I have.
Or
ever
one's
had
own
it.
thinking?
I'd rather have no thinking. No thinking is your best thing.
rather than the thoughts of another. You mean importuning themselves
Yes,
into our
or
space.
even tones.
Tones.
Being a musician, I don't. It's very superficial. It's like what is this brain mechanism giving you? I almost like trained myself. There's a gorgeous second theme in the Chopin B minor sonata, and I never could sing back well. I didn't have any singing in early. You have to really hear your parents sing, or someone. There was nothing, and then your ear gets clogged in a certain way. But you can't sing it, but you could hear it inside, and I couldn't stand that over and over all day long. You were walking in the streets and you didn't even know what was happening. You're hearing the second theme of the B minor sonata. I don't want to hear. I don't want to ruin that theme. It's so fabulous. Am I making sense today?
Of course you are. Yes.
Do you want to say anything about what you're doing right now?
Well, let's see. I am working on an essay.
Which I will hear next week.
I'm going to read it to you next week. So how about we'll suspend that in the ether for a little bit, because part of me, I don't know if you ever do this, I find, though I've proven myself to myself enough, I try to speak as little as possible about something that is in process, lest I become one of those people that you ask 10 years later, how's that going? And I say, as I'm sure you've encountered, oh, I'm hoping to do that one day. I'm not one of those people. Now, again, as I say, I've proven myself to myself. But next week, I had pledged to you that I would read it to you, and that's my deadline. So
of course,
I'll bite my tongue
I
until
don't
then.
notice. I don't ask you about what it is.
Right. No, I appreciate that. But yes, I'm in the midst of having harvested from my journal on a certain theme that we have talked about a lot, and I thought, well, I'll finally address myself to this and finish copying out all those entries, and now I will simply have the joy of plagiarizing for myself and arranging them in a certain order in an essay of about 2,000 words.
Great.
Thank you, David.
Great. I want to say thank you to the audience who's listening, and if we made some little impact, do tell us. As this man did such a great job, made me feel so good. And subscribe. Tell your friends about it. I hope you don't think we're idiots, but whatever it is, we are having fun.
Yes.
And that is, fun can be, and I don't mean it in that little F-U-N, but it can be a wonderful thing called real pleasure talking to my friend Jack Cole, and we'll be back next week with another session.
Yes, we will, David. Looking forward to that very much.
Looking forward to seeing you. Have a great week. Have a good lemon meringue pie if you can find one.
Okay.